The emergency beacon screamed across the galaxy. Every member species of the Galactic Cooperation heard it. The Varani were dying. The Cooperation Council gathered in the Great Chamber on Unity Station. Representatives from 47 species filled the massive room. They floated, stood, or rested on specialized seats built for their different bodies. The Varani ambassador, a small creature with silver skin and 6 delicate limbs, stood at the center. Her voice shook as she spoke. "Please," she said. "The Krell swarm has returned. They attack our colonies. Our people are dying. 3 worlds are already under siege. We cannot hold them. We need help." The council members looked at each other. Whispers filled the chamber. The Krell swarm, everyone knew that name. A species of insects that thought with one mind. They had been thrown out of the galaxy 300 years ago, after they destroyed 12 worlds. Now they were back. The eldest spoke first. They were beings of living crystal, ancient and wise. Their voice rang like bells. "We understand your pain, but we must follow the law. Military action requires formal approval. The process takes time." "How much time?" the Varani ambassador asked. Her eyes were wet with tears. 3 months, perhaps 4, another representative said. "We must review the request. Send it to committees. Vote on resource allocation. Follow proper procedures." The Varani ambassador's legs trembled. "In 3 months, my people will be extinct." "We have maybe 3 weeks. Please, I beg you." More voices joined the debate. The Trell representatives, tall beings with 4 arms, spoke of risk. The symphonic collective, creatures who sang instead of talked, worried about cost. The debate went in circles. Laws and rules and procedures. Always more talk. Never action. Ambassador Sarah Chen sat quietly. Humans had joined the cooperation only 80 years ago. Other species called them young, primitive, too emotional, too violent, too unpredictable. Human ships looked rough compared to the smooth, elegant vessels of older species. Human weapons made other species uncomfortable. Humans were tolerated but not respected. Chen listened to the debate for an hour. Then she stood up. Her voice cut through the noise. "Excuse me. May I ask a simple question?" The chamber fell silent. All eyes turned to the human. "How long until the Varani are extinct?" Chen asked. Her voice was calm but hard as steel. The eldest answered. "Based on current attack patterns, approximately 21 days. Chen nodded slowly. 21 days. She looked around the chamber. "And you need 3 months to decide if you will help them?" "The law requires," someone began. "The law is not fast enough," Chen said. She looked at the Varani ambassador. "I am sorry this council cannot help you, but I promise you this. Humanity will help you." Gasps filled the chamber. A Trell representative stood. "Ambassador Chen, you cannot make such promises. Humanity does not have the authority. You must wait for council approval." Chen turned to face him. "My authority comes from something older than your laws. My authority comes from being able to look at myself in the mirror, from being able to sleep at night, from being human." She walked toward the exit. "We do not have time for this." "Good day." She left the chamber. Behind her, the council erupted in angry voices. The Varani ambassador watched, her go with hope in her eyes for the first time in days. Chen reached her ship and opened a secure channel to Earth. "This is Ambassador Chen, Priority Alpha. Activate emergency military protocols. I need every available ship." The face of Admiral Marcus Hayes appeared on her screen. He was an old soldier with gray hair and tired eyes. "How many ships, Ambassador?" "All of them," Chen said. "The Varani are dying. The Council will not help." "We will." Hayes was quiet for a moment. Then he nodded. "Understood. I will mobilize the fleet." "How long do we have?" 3 weeks. Maybe less. Then we move fast." Hayes saluted. "We will get there, Ambassador. And we will save them." Across human space, alarms began to sound. Naval bases received urgent orders. Crews rushed to their ships. Captains opened sealed emergency packets. The orders were simple, clear, direct. Get to Varani space. Save everyone you can. Use any means necessary. The human fleet began to move. 200 ships, destroyers, cruisers, carriers, and massive supply vessels. They were not pretty like the ships of older species. They were built for war, built to protect, built by a species that remembered what it meant to fight for survival. Admiral Hayes stood on the bridge of his flagship, the UNSC Defiance. Around him, his crew worked quickly and quietly. He looked at the star map. The journey to Varani space would take 12 days if they pushed the engines hard. 12 days of maximum speed. It was dangerous. It was reckless by cooperation standards, but people were dying. And humans did not abandon those who needed help. All ships, Hayes said into the fleet channel. This is Admiral Hayes, we have our orders. A peaceful species is under attack. They called for aid. The galaxy has abandoned them, but we will not. We go to war, he paused. Every captain in the fleet was listening. We will show them fire, Hayes said, and we will show them mercy. We will show them what it means to be human. Fleet, jump on my mark. The fleet jumped into faster than light travel. They left trails of light across the void, racing toward a war that nobody else would fight. Racing to save people they had never met. In the council chamber, the eldest watched the human fleet disappear on long-range sensors. They are fools, one representative said. They will probably die. The Varani ambassador stood alone. She touched her communication device. My people, she whispered. Help is coming, hold on. Please hold on. Far away, 3 Varani colony worlds burned under Krell attacks. Millions hid in shelters. They had almost given up hope. But in 12 days they would learn that hope sometimes comes in the form of 200 human warships, crewed by a species that refused to look away from suffering. The galaxy was about to learn what humans meant when they said the words, "We will help you." 12 days passed in a blur of speed and preparation. The human fleet pushed their engines beyond safety limits. Inside each ship, soldiers checked their weapons. Doctors prepared medical bays. Engineers ran system checks. Everyone knew what was coming. Admiral Hayes studied reports from Varani space. The news grew worse each day. 2 million Varani were already dead. The Krell swarm attacked without mercy. They burned cities. They destroyed food stores. They killed everything that moved. 30 minutes until we drop out of FTL, the navigation officer said. Hayes nodded. He opened the fleet channel. All ships, this is Hayes, battle stations. Weapons hot. We go in hard and fast. Remember your training. Protect each other. Save as many Varani as you can. Good luck. The fleet dropped into normal space at the edge of the Varani system. What they saw made even the hardest soldiers feel sick. 3 colony worlds hung in space. All 3 were covered in fire and smoke. Krell ships surrounded each world like swarms of angry insects. Thousands of them. Small fighters and huge carriers. They moved together with one mind, attacking in perfect coordination. The few remaining Varani defense platforms fired desperately. But their weapons were designed for defense, not war. The platforms fell one by one under Krell attacks. Scan complete, the sensor officer said. Her voice shook. I count 4,300 Krell vessels. We are outnumbered 20 to 1. Hayes looked at the display. 20 to 1? He had fought in worse odds, once, maybe twice. He stood straight. Helm, take us in. All ships attack formation Delta. Target the Krell carriers first. Show them what human weapons can do. The human fleet accelerated. They did not slow down. They did not try to negotiate. They came like a hammer. The Krell detected them. The swarm began to turn. They expected the humans to be afraid, to hesitate, to run. Instead, the humans opened fire. Nuclear missiles launched by the hundreds. Kinetic kill vehicles accelerated to incredible speeds. Energy weapons lit up the darkness. The human fleet used weapons the galaxy considered barbaric. Weapons too dangerous, too destructive. The first wave of missiles hit Krell carriers. The explosions were bright as small suns. 3 carriers vanished. Then 5 more. Then 10, the Krell swarm reacted. They turned to face this new threat. Thousands of fighters swarmed toward the human fleet. Hayes smiled coldly. Deploy the drones. Human carriers opened their bays. Thousands of small autonomous drones poured out. Each one was a weapon with a simple computer brain. They were cheap to make, easy to replace, and they were everywhere. The drones met the Krell fighters in a storm of weapons fire. For every drone that died, a Krell fighter exploded. The drones used tactics no living pilot would try. They rammed enemy ships. They detonated themselves. They fought with no fear because they could not feel fear. The human ships pushed forward through the chaos. They fought like wolves in a pack. Destroyers protected carriers. Cruisers hunted the largest Krell ships. Frigates moved in groups, overwhelming enemy vessels with combined fire. The Krell had never fought anyone like this. Species in the cooperation fought carefully. They avoided losses. They retreated when things looked bad. They valued every life, Humans fought like they were already dead. They valued life, yes, but they valued freedom more. They valued protecting the innocent even more. They did not retreat, they advanced. Captain Maria Santos commanded the destroyer Righteous Fury. Her ship took heavy fire as it protected a medical vessel. Explosions rocked the hull. Systems failed, but Santos did not pull back. Hull breach on Deck 3, someone shouted. Weapon system damaged. Engines at 60%. Keep firing, Santos said calmly. That medical ship has to survive. They need to get to the planet. People are dying down there. Her crew fought on. They destroyed 6 Krell fighters before the enemy ships finally retreated. The medical vessel made it through. The battle raged for 6 hours. Slowly, impossibly, the humans began to win. They paid a heavy price. 15 ships were destroyed. Thousands of soldiers died. But the Krell paid more. For every human ship lost, 50 Krell vessels burned. The autonomous drones were endless. The missiles kept coming. Human ships that should have retreated kept fighting. Admiral Hayes watched as another Krell carrier broke apart under concentrated fire. Status report, he ordered. We have destroyed approximately 2,000 enemy vessels, the tactical officer said. The Krell are beginning to pull back from the planets. Their attack coordination is breaking down. Hayes allowed himself a small smile. The Krell swarm had one weakness. They thought with one mind. When that mind became confused or afraid, the entire swarm faltered. And the Krell mind had never encountered anything like humanity. All ships press the attack, Hayes ordered. Deploy ground forces to the planet's surface. Begin evacuation of civilians. We end this now. Troop transports dropped toward the 3 worlds. Inside, thousands of human Marines prepared for ground combat. Sergeant James Park checked his rifle one last time. Around him, his squad did the same. 60 seconds to landing, the pilot announced. Drop zone is hot. Krell ground forces are everywhere. Park looked at his squad. Young faces. Scared faces, but determined. Listen up, he said. Our job is simple. Find civilians. Protect them. Get them to the evacuation points. Some of you will not come back. I am sorry for that. But those people down there need us. So we go, we fight. We save as many as we can. Questions? Nobody spoke. They all knew what was coming. 30 seconds, the pilot said. Park stood. His squad stood with him. The transport shook as it entered the atmosphere. Through the windows he could see a burning city below. Krell warriors moved through the streets. Small Virani civilians ran and hid. 10 seconds. Doors opening. Go, go, go. The Marines poured out of the transport. They hit the ground running. Krell warriors turned to face them. The battle for the surface had begun. Above the planet, the space battle was ending. The surviving Krell ships retreated. They jumped to faster-than-light speed and fled. The swarm had learned a terrible lesson. Humans did not fight like other species. Humans fought to win. Admiral Hayes watched them go. He felt tired. So many had died. But they had won. The Virani colonies were saved. Now came the hard part. Now came the mercy. The last Krell ship disappeared into faster-than-light speed. The space around the 3 Virani colonies was quiet for the first time in weeks. The silence felt strange after so much violence. Admiral Hayes stood on his bridge. His uniform was dirty. His face was tired. Around him, his crew celebrated their victory. But Hayes did not smile. He looked at the 3 burning worlds below. The battle was over, but millions were still suffering. Open Fleet Channel, he ordered. Channel open, sir. All ships, well done. You fought bravely. You saved millions of lives today, but our work is not finished. Phase 2 begins now. All support vessels move into orbit. Deploy humanitarian aid. Medical ships prepare to receive casualties. Engineering teams assess damage to surface infrastructure. We came here to save these people. That means more than just fighting. Across the galaxy, other species watched with confusion. Cooperation observers had been monitoring the battle from long-range sensors. They expected the humans to pursue the Krell, to destroy them completely. That was what you did after a battle. You eliminated the threat. Instead, something strange happened. The human warships pulled back, and dozens of huge cargo ships moved forward. These vessels had traveled with the fleet, but had stayed out of the fighting. Now they came into orbit around the 3 worlds. Their cargo bays opened, but instead of more weapons, they revealed supplies, food, medicine, building materials, power generators, water purifiers, everything needed to rebuild a civilization. On the planet's surface, Sergeant Maria Santos searched through the ruins of a city. She had fought for 12 hours straight. She had killed 47 Krell warriors. Her armor was covered in dirt and blood, but now she moved carefully through collapsed buildings, calling out in the Varani language. "Hello? Is anyone there? We are here to help. You are safe now." A small sound came from beneath rubble. Santos dropped to her knees and began moving broken concrete with her bare hands. After several minutes, she found a tiny opening. Inside, a young Varani child huddled in the darkness. Her silver skin was covered in dust, her 6 small arms wrapped around herself in fear. Santos removed her helmet so the child could see her face. She smiled gently. "Hey there, little one. My name is Maria. I am here to help you. Can you take my hand?" The child stared at her. Varani and humans looked very different. But slowly, hesitantly, the child reached out one small hand. Santos took it carefully. "That is good. Very brave. Let me get you out of there." She pulled the child free and held her close. The child began to cry. Santos just held her and whispered soft words. The same soldier who had killed dozens of enemy warriors now comforted a frightened child. It came as naturally as breathing. Similar scenes played out across all 3 worlds. Human Marines became rescue workers. They dug through ruins. They gave out food and water. They set up emergency shelters. They treated wounded Varani with the same care they gave their own people. Dr. James Park worked in a field hospital that had been set up in a city square. He still wore his combat armor. He had not taken it off since landing. But now, instead of a weapon, he held medical instruments. A line of wounded Varani waited for treatment. He worked quickly but carefully. Each patient received the same attention. He set broken bones. He cleaned wounds. He spoke quietly to calm those in pain. His hands, trained to fight, now saved lives instead of taking them. A Varani elder approached him. She was very old, her silver skin marked with the patterns of age. She watched Dr. Park work for a long time before speaking. "Forgive me," she said in accented English. "I am trying to understand. You are the same human who killed so many Krell this morning?" Park looked up from his work. "Yes, ma'am. And now you heal my people?" "Yes, ma'am." She shook her head in wonder. "How is this possible? How can one being be both warrior and healer? Both destroyer and builder?" Park paused in his work. He thought about the question. "Because we understand what is worth protecting," he said finally. "We fight fiercely because we know what happens when good people do nothing. But we also know that violence is just a tool. The goal is not to destroy. The goal is to protect, to save, to help." The elder was quiet for a moment. "You are 2 species in one body," she said softly. "Warriors and healers. It is remarkable and frightening." Above them, human ships continued their work. Hospital ships in orbit received thousands of seriously wounded. Human doctors worked alongside Varani healers. Language barriers meant nothing. Medicine was universal. Engineering teams landed on the surface. They brought portable power generators to restore electricity. They repaired water treatment plants. They cleared roads so aid could reach remote areas. They worked 18-hour shifts without complaint. Lieutenant Commander Aisha Williams coordinated supply distribution from a temporary command center. She had charts showing which areas needed food, which needed medicine, which needed shelter. Her team worked efficiently, making sure aid reached everyone. But she also commanded defensive patrols. Some Krell warriors had been left behind when the fleet retreated. They still posed a danger, so Williams balanced 2 very different jobs. One moment she directed food shipments. The next, she sent soldiers to protect civilians from Krell stragglers. Both were equally important. Ambassador Chen arrived on the flagship 3 days after the battle. Admiral Hayes met her in his office. He looked even more tired than before. "The Cooperation Council wants to speak with you," Chen said. "They are demanding answers. They want to know why we acted without permission, why we used forbidden weapons, why we fight one moment and heal the next." Hayes poured himself coffee. He had barely slept. "What do they want me to say?" "The truth," Chen said. "Tell them what it means to be human." Hayes looked out at the planet below. Thousands of humans worked there, saving lives, rebuilding, making things better. Not because they expected reward, not because it was required, but because it was right. "I will tell them," he said quietly, "though I doubt they will understand." Down on the planet, Sergeant Santos carried the small Varani child through the ruins. She had found the child's family. They were alive, hiding in a shelter. When Santos reunited them, the parents fell to their knees and touched their heads to her boots. A Varani gesture of deepest gratitude, Santos felt tears in her eyes. This was why humans fought. Not for glory, not for power, for this, for families reunited, for children who would live to see tomorrow, for the simple act of helping someone in need. The galaxy watched with growing confusion. The same species that had fought with terrifying efficiency now showed kindness that seemed equally extreme. Humans gave away supplies freely. They worked to exhaustion helping strangers. They wept for Varani dead as they would weep for their own. It made no sense to species who valued logic above all. To species who measured everything by cost and benefit. To species who fought only when necessary and helped only their own. But to humans, it made perfect sense. They had come to save the Varani. Saving someone meant more than just keeping them alive. It meant giving them hope, dignity, a future. It meant fire when fire was needed, and mercy when mercy was needed. Both were essential parts of the same mission. Both came from the same place in the human heart. The Vrex retreat turned into a disaster. Human ships chased them relentlessly. Every time a Vrex ship fell behind, human fighters swarmed it. The kill rate was terrible. For every human ship destroyed, 3 Vrex ships died. The numbers were wrong. The Vrex had better technology. They should be winning. But they were not. Admiral Krenoth watched his fleet fall apart. His officers shouted damage reports constantly. Hull breaches on dozens of ships. Shield generators failing. Weapons offline. Casualties mounting. The communications channels filled with desperate voices calling for help. Help that could not come. There were too many damaged ships and not enough time. The Concordate observers finally understood what made humans so dangerous. Human ships were cheap to build. A Vrex dreadnought took 20 years and massive resources. In that same time, humans had built 100 cruisers. The math was simple but devastating. The Vrex could not replace their losses fast enough. Humans could drown them in numbers. Another advantage became clear. Human ships had small crews. Most functions were automated by artificial intelligence. A human cruiser needed only 50 people. A Vrex ship of the same size needed 500. Humans could build more ships because they needed fewer trained crew members. They had solved the personnel problem with computers. The Concordat feared artificial intelligence. They had strict laws limiting computer thinking. Ancient wars had taught them to be careful, but humans had no such history. They embraced AI fully. Their computers helped design ships, control weapons, and make tactical decisions. It gave them an edge that Concordate species deliberately avoided. Human creativity in battle continued to shock the observers. They used tactics that military academies would call wrong or foolish. They split their formations in ways that should not work. They attacked from angles that left them exposed. But these tactics succeeded because the Vrex did not expect them. Unpredictability was its own weapon. One human tactic particularly disturbed the Concordate. When human ships were damaged beyond repair, their crews evacuated. Then the ships accelerated toward Vrex positions and exploded. The humans turned their dying vessels into massive bombs. No other species did this. It showed a level of ruthlessness that made everyone uncomfortable. Back on Earth, recordings showed how humans had achieved the impossible. Every nation had united completely. Old enemies became partners. Countries that had fought for centuries worked together without argument. Political differences were put aside. Religious conflicts were forgotten. Everyone had one goal: survival. Nothing else mattered. The human economy had transformed totally. Every factory stopped making normal goods. They made ship parts instead. Every mine dug materials for the fleet. Every power plant fed the shipyards. Millions of people lived on rations so resources could go to the military. Children studied engineering and warfare. Adults worked 16-hour days without complaint. The level of sacrifice was stunning. Humans had given up everything comfortable about their lives. No new cars or houses were built. No entertainment industries operated. No luxury goods existed. Every resource went to the fleet. An entire civilization had turned itself into a weapon. They had done what the Concordate thought impossible. They had truly unified as one species. The High Council convened an emergency session. They watched the battle unfold on massive screens. Some council members wanted to send help to the Vrex. Others argued for staying neutral. A few suggested offering humans peace terms. The debate grew heated. No one had expected this outcome. The Concordate itself might be at risk if humans won. Elder Voth of the Archons stood and spoke. His voice was old but strong. He said something that silenced the entire chamber. He said humans fought like they had nothing to lose, because from their perspective, they truly had nothing to lose. Their home was threatened. Their species faced extinction. When you threaten someone's existence, they become capable of anything. The Vrex fleet was down to 800 combat-capable ships. 2,200 had been destroyed or disabled. The battle had lasted 6 hours. Kranoth knew he was beaten. He prepared to signal surrender. But before he could, his sensor officer reported something new. More human ships were arriving. Another 10,000 fresh vessels emerged from Mars orbit. Kranoth understood then. The first wave of 47,000 ships was not the entire human fleet. It was just the first wave. Humans had built even more ships than anyone knew. They had reserves. They had reinforcements. The Vrex were not just losing. They were facing complete annihilation. Every ship, every crew, all of them would die here. Admiral Chen Wei opened communications again. Her face appeared on Kranoth's screen. She looked tired but determined. She offered him one chance. Surrender now and his crews would live. Continue fighting and every Vrex ship would be destroyed. She gave him 5 minutes to decide. She said she hoped he would choose wisely, but her eyes said she did not care which he chose. Kranoth looked around his bridge. His officers stared at him with exhausted, frightened faces. Young Vrex who had joined the military expecting glory and easy victories. Instead, they had found humans who refused to die. He thought about his duty and his pride. Then he thought about keeping his people alive. The decision was harder than he expected. The Valter Expanse was a region of space filled with asteroids and debris. It formed a natural barrier between Krell territory and the Cooperation core worlds. There was only one safe passage through. Whoever controlled that passage controlled access to trillions of lives. Admiral Hayes stood on his bridge and studied the tactical display. His fleet of 200 ships looked pitifully small compared to the approaching Krell force. Sensors showed over 2,000 enemy vessels, 10-to-1 odds. Again. Deploy defensive formations, Hayes ordered. Use the asteroid field as cover. Make them come through us. Every ship we destroy is one less that reaches the core worlds. His crew worked quickly. They had practiced this. The human fleet spread out through the passage, using the asteroids as shields and weapons. They placed mines, set up automated gun platforms, created overlapping fields of fire. They prepared to sell their lives dearly. Ambassador Chen opened a broadcast channel to the entire cooperation. She wanted everyone to see what would happen here, to understand what humans were doing, and why. People of the Galactic Cooperation, she said. This is Ambassador Sarah Chen of Earth. In a few hours, the Krell swarm will arrive at this location. The human fleet will try to stop them. We are outnumbered. We will probably fail. Many of us will die here. She paused. Across the galaxy, billions watched and listened. But we try anyway, not because we expect victory, not because we seek glory, but because someone has to stand up and say no. Someone has to draw a line and defend it. If that someone must be us, then so be it. We are honored to serve, for all people, for all species, for the future. The transmission ended. In the Cooperation Council chamber, representatives watched in silence. Some felt shame, some felt fear, some felt something they had not felt in centuries. The desire to act. The Krell arrived 2 hours later. Their fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel like a swarm of locusts. 2,000 ships, all moving with perfect coordination. They saw the human defensive line and did not slow down. They charged. The Battle of Valtor Expanse began. Human ships opened fire. Missiles streaked through space. Energy weapons carved through Krell vessels. The automated platforms added their firepower. Explosions lit up the darkness. But the Krell kept coming. For every ship destroyed, 3 more took its place. Captain Santos commanded her destroyer, the Righteous Fury. Her ship was already damaged from the previous battle, but she held her position in the defensive line. Krell fighters swarmed around her. Hull breach on multiple decks, shields at 20%. Weapons system Alpha is down. Her crew reported. Keep firing. Santos ordered calmly. "We hold this line." Her ship shook under repeated impacts, but she did not retreat. Around her, other human ships fought with the same determination. They used every trick, every tactic. They rammed when they ran out of ammunition. They detonated damaged ships to take Krell vessels with them. They fought like they had nothing to lose, because they did not. Everything worth protecting was behind them. 3 human destroyers were destroyed in the first hour, then 5 more. The line began to waver. The Krell were learning, adapting, using better tactics. They concentrated fire on individual ships, broke through weak points. Slowly but surely they pushed forward. Admiral Hayes watched his fleet dying. He had seen combat before, but never like this. Never against such overwhelming numbers. He opened a channel to Ambassador Chen. "Ambassador, I need you to know. We cannot hold. There are too many. In another hour, they will break through. I am sorry." Chen's voice was steady. "You have nothing to apologize for, Admiral. You gave them time. Time for others to wake up. Time for the galaxy to see what courage looks like. That is enough." But even as she spoke, something changed. New contacts appeared on long-range sensors, ships dropping out of faster-than-light travel. Dozens of them. Then hundreds. "Admiral," the sensor officer shouted. "We have multiple fleet signatures inbound, identifying Virani vessels, Kryn warships, Tal-Uri engineering ships. Sir, the cooperation is coming." Hayes stared at the display in disbelief. Species that had never coordinated military action were arriving in formation. The cooperation fleet was not organized, not properly trained for combined operations. But they came anyway. The Virani ambassador's voice came through on the command channel. "Admiral Hayes, this is the Virani Defense Fleet, 50 ships reporting for duty. Where do you need us?" Before Hayes could respond, another voice joined. "This is Kryn Battle Singer Taven. 20 warships stand ready. We have studied your tactics, Admiral. Tell us where to strike." More voices followed. Species that had never fought together. Species that had different languages, different cultures, different technologies. But they all said the same thing. "We are here. We will help." Hayes felt emotion rising in his throat. He pushed it down. There would be time for feelings later. Now was the time for war. "All ships, this is Admiral Hayes. Welcome to the fight. Form up on your designated human vessels. We fight together. We protect each other. Use combined arms doctrine. Target their carriers and command ships. Today we show the Krell what happens when the galaxy stands united." The reinforced fleet struck the Krell like a hammer. The Virani were fierce in their gratitude. The Kryn fought with poetry and precision. The Tal-Uri used their engineering skills to disable enemy systems. Other species contributed their unique strengths, and the humans taught them. In the middle of battle, human captains shared tactics with their cooperation allies. They coordinated strikes, covered each other's weaknesses. For the first time in galactic history, the cooperation fleet fought not as individuals, but as a unit. The tide of battle turned. The Krell found themselves facing not a small human fleet, but the combined might of 47 species. They had numbers, but the cooperation had unity, and unity was stronger. Captain Santos worked alongside a Virani cruiser. Together they destroyed a Krell carrier. Santos opened a channel to the Virani captain. "Good shot. Their shields were weakening on the port side." "Did you see?" The Virani captain's voice was excited. "Yes. Your missile strike created the opening. This combined tactic is effective." "Stay close to me," Santos said. "I will draw their fire. You hit them while they are focused on me." It was working. Species that had fought defensively for centuries learned to hunt, to coordinate, to trust each other. And they learned from the best teachers. Humans who had spent their entire history perfecting the art of war, and the art of working together. Admiral Hayes led a final push into the heart of the Krell formation. He targeted the Hive Queen's massive command ship. If they could destroy it, the entire swarm would collapse. "All ships, concentrate fire on that carrier. Marines, prepare. For boarding action, we end this now." The combined fleet focused their weapons. The Hive Queen's shields collapsed. Boarding pods launched from human ships. Marines poured onto the enemy vessel. They fought deck by deck, corridor by corridor. Humans, Varani, and Kryn warriors fighting side by side. Sergeant James Park led his squad through the burning corridors of the Krell ship. Beside him fought a Kryn warrior poet and 3 Varani soldiers. They covered each other, saved each other, bled together. They reached the command chamber. The Hive Queen waited there, a massive creature surrounded by her guards. The final battle was short and brutal. When it ended, the Hive Queen lay dead, and with her death, the swarm's coordination vanished. Throughout the battlefield, Krell ships began to drift. Without their central intelligence, they were lost. Confused. They tried to retreat but collided with each other in their panic. The Cooperation fleet hunted them down. By the time the last Krell ship fled into faster-than-light travel, the galaxy had changed forever. The Cooperation had won. Together. 1 month after the Battle of Valter Expanse, the Galactic Cooperation Council gathered again. But this time the mood was different. There was no anger, no debate, just quiet respect. The eldest spoke first. Their crystal voice was soft. Ambassador Chen, Admiral Hayes, on behalf of the Galactic Cooperation, we thank you. You saved us all. You showed us what we had forgotten. The meaning of courage, of sacrifice, of unity. Chen stood beside Hayes. Both wore formal uniforms. Both looked tired. They had spent the month helping with recovery efforts across multiple worlds. Humanity never stopped working, never stopped helping. We only did what was necessary, Chen said. What anyone should have done. No, a Trell representative said. He was the same one who had criticized humans before. Now his voice held respect. You did what we could not. You acted when we would only debate. You risked everything when we risked nothing. We were wrong about humanity. We are sorry, other representatives nodded. Voices of agreement filled the chamber. For the first time in centuries, the council was truly united. United by the example humans had shown them. The eldest continued. The council has voted. From this day forward, humanity will hold special status within the cooperation. Your military tactics will be taught to all member species. Your humanitarian protocols will become the standard for disaster response. And we formally apologize for doubting you. Hayes stepped forward. With respect, eldest, we do not want special status. We want partnership. We want to work together. That is how we won at Valtor. Not because humans were special, but because we all fought as one. The symphonic collective sang their response. Then partnership you shall have. We learned much from you, not just about war, but about what war is for. You fight to protect. You show mercy because you remember needing mercy. You help because helping is right. These are lessons we should have known already. Thank you for teaching us. The ceremony ended with a promise. The species of the cooperation would train together, share knowledge, stand ready to defend each other. The age of isolation was over. The age of unity had begun. Later, Ambassador Chen traveled to Varani Prime, the capital world of the Varani species. She came for the dedication of a memorial. Thousands of Varani gathered in the central square. At the center stood a massive sculpture. It showed a human soldier kneeling beside a Varani child. The soldier's hand reached out. The child's hand reached back, both touching. Both trusting, the Varani elder spoke to the crowd. We were dying. The galaxy abandoned us. But humanity came. They came with fire to defend us, with mercy to heal us, with love to teach us. This monument will stand for 10,000 years. So our children's children will remember, will know that when darkness came, someone stood against it, someone cared. At the base of the sculpture, words were carved in both human and Varani languages. Chen read them aloud. They came with fire to defend us, with mercy to heal us, with love to teach us. We will never forget. Tears ran down Chen's face. She was not ashamed. Humans cried when they felt deeply. It was part of what made them human. Sergeant Maria Santos stood nearby in the crowd. She wore her dress uniform. Medals covered her chest. But she was not here for honors. She was here because she had been invited by a family, a Varani family she had saved. The small Varani child ran to her. The same child Santos had pulled from the rubble. The child hugged Santos's leg. Her parents approached and bowed deeply. You gave us our daughter back, the mother said. How can we ever repay you? Santos knelt down to the child's level. She smiled. You do not need to repay me. Just be happy. Raise your daughter well. Teach her to help others when they need it. That is all I ask. The child looked up at her. When I grow up, I want to be like you. I want to help people. Santos felt her heart swell. This was why humans fought. Not for glory. Not for power. For moments like this. For children who would grow up safe. For hope. In human space at the Cooperation War College, alien officers now studied human military tactics. But they also studied human philosophy. The idea that strength existed to protect the weak. That violence was only justified when used to defend the innocent. The mercy was not weakness but the highest form of strength. Admiral Hayes taught classes there sometimes. Young officers from dozens of species listened to his lessons. Not just about weapons and tactics, but about why they fought, about the difference between a soldier and a warrior, about honor. A soldier fights because they must, Hayes told his students. A warrior fights because they choose to. We choose to stand between darkness and light, between chaos and civilization, between death and life. That choice makes us who we are. Remember that. Hold on to it, especially when things get hard. His students listened carefully. They were learning. The whole galaxy was learning. The cooperation would never be the same. Humans had changed it forever, not through conquest, not through domination, but through example. Across cooperation space, new protocols were established. Fast response teams, humanitarian aid always ready, military forces trained to work together, all based on human models, all designed to ensure that never again would someone call for help and receive only debate. Ambassador Chen gave her final speech to the Council before returning to Earth. You asked me to explain humanity. I told you we are not perfect. We make mistakes, we feel deeply, we act before thinking sometimes, but we try, we care. When someone needs help, we give it, not because of laws or rules, but because we remember what it was like to need help ourselves. She paused and looked around the chamber. You call us paradoxical, fire and mercy, warriors and healers, destroyers and builders, but there is no paradox. These qualities are not opposites. They are partners. We fight fiercely because we love deeply. We show mercy because we understand suffering. We destroy evil so that good can grow. This is what it means to be human. We came to your cooperation as the youngest species, the least experienced, the most primitive, but we brought something you had forgotten. The willingness to act, the courage to care, the strength to be kind even after being cruel. We hope you will learn from us. Just as we have learned from you, together, we are stronger. The Council stood as one and applauded, not just polite applause, but genuine heartfelt appreciation. Chen smiled. She thought about the long journey from Earth, the doubts humans had faced, the suspicion, the fear, all of that was gone now. Humanity had proven itself, not through words but through actions. They had answered a call for help. They had shown fire when fire was needed, and mercy when mercy was needed. They had changed the galaxy. Years later, in a small hospital on a human colony world, an elderly nurse named Aisha Williams helped a young Varani doctor learn new surgical techniques. The doctor was fascinated by human medicine, but also by human kindness. Why do you help everyone? The young doctor asked. Not just your own species, but all species. You give so much. What do you gain? Williams smiled. She was old now. Her hair was gray, but her eyes still held the same determination they had when she commanded supply operations during the war. What do we gain? Everything that matters. Purpose. Meaning. The knowledge that we made the universe a little better. That is worth more than any payment. The young Varani nodded slowly. Understanding. This was the lesson humanity had taught the galaxy, that helping others was not a burden. It was a privilege, that protecting the weak did not make you weak. It made you strong. That mercy and strength were not opposites but partners. In a classroom on Varani Prime, a teacher told her students about the dark time. About the Krell invasion, about the day humanity came with fire and mercy. The students listened with wide eyes. They had heard the story many times, but they never tired of it. Why did they help us? One student asked. It was the same question every generation asked. The teacher smiled. She was the daughter of the small child Santos had saved. She had grown up inspired by that human soldier. Now she taught others. Because someone had to, she said. And they happened to be there. That is what humans say. But I think the real reason is simpler. They helped us because that is who they are. They help, they protect, they care. It is their nature. On Earth, in the military academy where human officers trained, a new motto hung above the entrance. It was written in all the languages of the cooperation. We answer the call. Simple words. But they held deep meaning. Every human officer learned the story of Valtor, of the Virani, of the moment when humanity chose to act instead of debate, to help instead of abandon, to fight and heal, to bring fire and mercy. And they learned that this was not special. This was not unusual. This was simply what humans did. When someone called for help, humans answered, always, without question, without hesitation. In the depths of space, human ships patrolled alongside vessels from dozens of species. They were not just allies now. They were friends, partners, united by the lessons learned in fire and mercy, united by the understanding that some things were worth fighting for, worth dying for, worth living for. The galaxy was safer now, stronger, more united, all because one species remembered what it meant to care, to act, to help. And if darkness ever returned, the galaxy knew who to call, who would answer, who would bring both the fire to fight and the mercy to heal. Humanity would answer. They always did. It was who they were. Who they would always be. The station was massive. Convergence Prime floated in space like a metal city. Ships from 100 different worlds docked at its ports. Today was special. The Galactic Council was meeting, and everyone who mattered in the galaxy was here. Captain Elena Vasquez stood on the bridge of her ship and looked at the station through the main window. She was tired. The journey from Earth had taken 3 weeks. Behind her, the crew worked quietly at their stations. They all knew what was coming. The HMS Indomitable moved slowly toward the docking port. The ship was old, very old. It had fought in 3 wars. The hull was covered in patches and repairs. Some parts were new, some were old, and some were from other ships entirely. The paint was different colors in different places. One engine leaked a faint blue glow. Elena could see the other ships around them. Sleek Valkyrie destroyers with perfect silver hulls. Elegant Ascendi cruisers that looked like works of art. The Zenthari warships were dark and dangerous. Every one of them was beautiful and powerful and new. The Indomitable looked like a joke next to them. The communications officer looked up. Rodriguez, a young woman from Mexico City. She was good at her job. She had to be. "Captain, we are receiving messages on the open channel," Rodriguez said. Elena already knew what they would say. "Let me hear it." The bridge speakers crackled. Laughter came through first. Then voices in different alien languages. The translation system turned them into English. "Look at the human ship. Is that really a warship? Did they bring their garbage collector to the summit? I have seen better ships in museums." Elena saw her crew getting angry. Hands tightened on consoles. Jaws clenched. But they stayed quiet. They were professionals. "Turn it off," Elena said calmly. Rodriguez nodded and cut the feed. The docking process took 30 minutes. The Indomitable settled into its berth with a series of heavy clanks. The artificial gravity adjusted. Elena stood and straightened her uniform. "Commander Chen, you have the bridge," she said. Chen was her second in command, a quiet man from Singapore. He had served with her for 8 years. "Yes, Captain. Good luck down there." Elena walked to the airlock with 2 security officers. The station beyond was bright and clean. Everything gleamed. Aliens of every shape and size walked the corridors. Many stopped to stare at the human captain in her plain blue uniform. The council chamber was enormous. A circular room with seats rising in tiers. Hundreds of delegates filled the space. At the center, on a raised platform, sat the council members themselves. 12 beings from 12 different species. Elena took her place in the human section. Earth had only 3 seats. They were near the back. Small nations always got the back seats. The Valkyrie section was at the front. Of course, they had 20 seats. The Valkyrie Empire was the most powerful force in the galaxy. Their military was unmatched. Their technology was the most advanced. Everyone knew it. The Valkyrie made sure everyone knew it. Admiral Thexnor stood to speak. He was tall, even for a Valkyrie. His skin was gray and smooth. His eyes were black and cold. Forearms moved as he talked. His uniform was covered in medals and ribbons. "I wish to address the matter of the human territories," Thexnor said. His voice was deep and commanding. The chamber fell silent. Elena felt her stomach tighten. "Here it comes. The Velkari Empire has identified 3 worlds in the frontier sector that rightfully belong to us. These worlds were discovered by Velkari scouts 200 years ago. The humans have built colonies there without permission. This is unacceptable." Elena stood. "Those worlds were empty when we arrived. Your scouts found them, but you never settled them. We have 50 million people living there now. We will not abandon them." Thexnor turned to look at her. His face showed no emotion. "Captain Vasquez, I noticed your ship in the docking bay. The HMS Indomitable, yes? I must ask, why does Earth send such a vessel to an important summit? It is barely functional." Laughter rippled through the chamber. "Not from everyone, but from enough." Elena's face stayed calm, but inside she burned. "The Indomitable has served Earth well for 40 years, Elena said quietly. "She has never let us down." "I am sure," Thexnor said with a smile that was not kind. "Tell me, Captain, how long do you think your museum piece would last against a single Velkari destroyer? 5 minutes, 10? More laughter. Louder this time. Elena said nothing. She sat down. There was no point in arguing, not here. "Not now," Thexnor continued. "The Velkari Empire demands that all human colonies in the frontier sector be evacuated within 72 hours. If this demand is not met, we will take appropriate military action." The council chamber erupted in noise. Delegates shouted. Arguments broke out. The council members called for order. In the chaos, one being stayed quiet. Observer Kelthas of the Ascendi sat in his special seat. The Ascendi did not take sides. They only watched and recorded. Kelthas had studied humans for many years. He found them fascinating, unpredictable, stubborn. He watched Captain Vasquez's face. She was calm, too calm. Most beings would show fear when threatened by the Velkari Empire. But this human showed nothing. Just that quiet, controlled stillness. Kelthas had seen this before in humans. It was not submission. It was preparation. The council ended with no resolution. Earth refused to evacuate. The Velkari refused to back down. 72 hours to find a solution. But everyone knew there would be no solution. There would only be war. Elena returned to the Indomitable. Her crew was waiting. They had heard everything. The mockery. The threats. The deadline. She stood on the bridge and looked at each of them. 800 souls. Engineers, gunners, medical staff, technicians. All of them had volunteered for this posting. Everyone said the Indomitable was the worst assignment in the fleet. Old ship, dangerous missions, low prestige, but they were here anyway. "We have new orders," Elena said. "We are to proceed to the frontier sector, to the colony world of New Sarajevo. Our mission is to observe and report." She paused. "But if the Velkari come, we stand our ground. No colony will fall while we still have power to fight." The Indomitable left Convergence Prime 12 hours later. Other ships watched it go. The mocking messages continued on the open channels until they were out of range. Elena ordered them ignored. The journey to the frontier sector would take 40 hours at maximum speed. Elena used that time to prepare. Not just the ship. The crew. She called a meeting in the main cargo bay. It was the only space big enough for everyone. The crew assembled quickly. They stood in neat rows waiting. Elena looked at them. So many faces, young and old. Men and women from every continent on Earth. Some had families waiting at home. Some had no one. But they were all here. "I will not lie to you," she began. "The Velkari Empire is sending a fleet to the frontier sector. A big one. The 7th Fleet under Admiral Thexnor himself. Intelligence reports 47 warships. We will face them alone. The nearest human ships are 3 weeks away." Silence. No one moved. "I know what they say about this ship," Elena continued. "I know what they call us. The relic, the museum piece, the joke, I have heard it all." "So have you," she paused. "But I also know what this ship really is. The Indomitable has fought in 3 major wars. She has survived battles that destroyed ships twice her size. She has more combat honors than any vessel in the fleet. Do you know why?" A young ensign in the front row spoke up. His voice was nervous but clear. "Because she refuses to die, Captain." Elena smiled. "Exactly. And neither do we. The Velkari think we are weak. They think our ship is garbage. Let them think that. We know the truth. Every system on this ship has 3 backups. Every weapon has been tested in real combat. Every plate of armor has taken hits and held. We are not pretty. But we are strong. Chief Engineer Rodriguez stepped forward. She was older than most of the crew. She had gray in her hair now. She had served on the Indomitable for 15 years. She knew every pipe, every wire, every bolt. Captain's right, Rodriguez said loudly. Yeah, we leak radiation. That's because we have 4 separate power cores instead of 1. Yeah, our hull is patched together. That's because we have triple-layered armor instead of fancy energy shields. Yeah, we look like hell. But we work. We always work. The crew started to nod. Murmurs of agreement spread through the bay. I will not order anyone to stay, Elena said. If you want to leave, you can take a shuttle to the nearest station. No questions asked, no shame. This is going to be bad. I will not pretend otherwise. She waited. 1 minute. 2 minutes. 5 minutes, no one moved. Good, Elena said quietly. Then let's get to work. The next 30 hours were busy. Very busy. Rodriguez and her engineers worked around the clock. They rerouted power systems. They calibrated weapons. They reinforced key structures. They did things that would have made regular engineers nervous. The weapons teams ran drills. Again and again, load, aim, fire, load, aim, fire. The old railguns were slow compared to modern energy weapons. But they hit hard, very hard, and they never ran out of ammunition as long as you had metal to shoot. The tactical team studied everything they could find about Velkari ships. Their shields, their weapons, their tactics. The Velkari loved to fight at long range. Their ships were fast and maneuverable. They used coordinated attacks with precise timing. Commander Chen brought the analysis to Elena. They sat in her ready room, a small office next to the bridge. The walls were covered in old photographs. Previous captains, previous crews. All of them had fought. All of them had survived. The Velkari will try to surround us, Chen said. They will use their speed advantage to attack from multiple angles. Their primary weapons are energy lances. Very powerful. Very accurate. Maximum effective range is 80,000 kilometers. Elena studied the data. And our railguns? Effective range is about 40,000 kilometers. Maybe 50 if we are lucky. So they can shoot us before we can shoot them. Yes, Captain. Elena was quiet for a long moment. Then she smiled. Then we get close. Very close. Close enough that their fancy targeting systems cannot keep up. Close enough that our armor matters more than their shields. Chen looked worried. Captain, that is extremely dangerous. We would have to fly through their entire fire zone to get that close. Yes. But this ship was built to take damage. Their ships were built to avoid it. We can survive the approach. They cannot survive us at close range. Chen nodded slowly. I see, it is risky. But it might work. It has to work, Elena said. We have no other choice. 20 hours before the deadline, they received new intelligence. The Velkari 7th Fleet had assembled. 47 ships, 3 battleships, 12 cruisers, 32 destroyers. The flagship was the Eternal Dominion, one of the most powerful warships ever built. Admiral Thexnor would command personally. He wanted to be there when the humans were crushed. He wanted to watch. The Indomitable arrived at New Sarajevo with 40 hours to spare. The colony world was beautiful. Blue oceans, green continents, white clouds, 50 million people lived down there. Farmers, teachers, engineers, children. They had built a life here. A good life. The colonial government sent a message. They would not evacuate. This was their home. They trusted their military to protect them. They trusted the Indomitable. Elena read the message 3 times. Then she sent a reply. Simple. Direct. We will not let you down. The ship took up position in high orbit. Weapons were charged. Systems were ready. All they could do now was wait. On the bridge, Rodriguez checked her displays one more time. Everything was green. Well, everything that mattered. There were about 50 minor alerts, but there were always 50 minor alerts on the Indomitable. If the alerts ever went to 0, that would mean something was actually wrong. Chief, a young ensign said. His name was Park, fresh from the academy. This was his first real mission. Are we really going to fight 47 ships? Rodriguez looked at him. He was scared. That was okay. Fear was normal. Yeah, kid. We are. But how? How can one ship fight 47? Rodriguez smiled. Because we are not like them. They build their ships to be perfect. We build our ships to be tough. They train their crews to follow rules. We train our crews to survive. They think war is about technology. We know war is about will. She patted the console next to her. This old girl has been through worse. And she is still here, Park nodded. He still looked scared. But now he also looked determined. Far away on Convergence Prime, Observer Kelthas sat in his quarters. He had access to all the military channels. He could see everything that was happening. The Velkari fleet was moving toward New Sarajevo. The Indomitable waited alone. Kelthas had studied war for 300 years. He had seen thousands of battles. He had analyzed millions of tactical scenarios. The numbers were clear. The Indomitable had no chance. No chance at all, but something bothered him. Humans were unpredictable. They did things that made no sense. Things that should not work. And sometimes those things did work. He opened a secure channel to the Indomitable. It took a moment to connect. Then Captain Vasquez appeared on his screen. She looked tired but alert. "Observer Kelthas," she said. "I am surprised to hear from you." "Captain Vasquez, I wanted to send you a message. The galaxy is watching this. Every species, every government. What happens in the next few days will be remembered for a very long time." Elena nodded. "I understand. Then I will say this. Make it memorable. Win or lose, make them remember." Elena smiled, a real smile this time. "We will do our best." The connection closed. Kelthas sat back. He had a feeling that he was about to witness something extraordinary. Something that would change how the galaxy saw humanity. He just did not know if it would be a glorious last stand or something else entirely. Soon, very soon, he would find out. The Velkari fleet arrived exactly on schedule. 47 ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel in a perfect formation. They appeared like ghosts becoming solid. One moment nothing, the next moment an armada. Elena watched from the bridge. The sensor displays lit up with contacts. So many contacts. Each one was a ship that could destroy the Indomitable in a fair fight. Good thing she had no intention of fighting fair. "All hands to battle stations," she said calmly. "This is not a drill." Alarms sounded throughout the ship. Not loud and panicked. Steady and firm. The crew had practiced this 100 times. They moved to their positions quickly and quietly. The Velkari fleet began to move. They spread out in a wide arc. 3 battleships in the center. Cruisers on the flanks. Destroyers screening the formation. It was textbook military doctrine. Beautiful and precise. The Indomitable stayed exactly where it was. Motionless. Silent. Waiting. A communication request came through. Rodriguez looked at Elena. The captain nodded. Admiral Thexnor appeared on the main screen. He sat in a command chair that looked like a throne. His bridge was massive and gleaming. Dozens of officers worked at pristine consoles. Everything was perfect. Everything was new. "Captain Vasquez," Thexnor said. His voice was smooth and confident. "I see you are still here. I admire your loyalty, even if it is misplaced. This is your final chance. Surrender now, and I will allow your crew to live. You may even keep your ship, such as it is." Elena looked at him for a long moment. Then she said one word. "No," Thexnor sighed. "A pity, very well. I will make this quick. You have fought bravely, but this is over. My fleet will disable your ship within minutes. Then you will watch as we secure the colony below. It is nothing personal, Captain. This is simply how power works." "Admiral," Elena said quietly. "You are making a mistake." Thexnor laughed. A genuine laugh. "A mistake? Captain, I have 47 warships. You have one ancient relic. Please enlighten me. What mistake am I making?" "You think you understand us," Elena said. "But you do not. You see an old ship and assume we are weak. You see outdated weapons and assume we are helpless. You count your ships and assume you have already won." She leaned forward. "That is your mistake." Thexnor's smile faded slightly. "Bold words for someone about to die." "Perhaps," Elena said. "We shall see." She cut the connection. The screen went dark. The Velkari fleet began its attack run. Not a full assault. That would be beneath them. Just a demonstration. A show of force. 3 destroyers broke formation and accelerated toward the Indomitable. They would disable the human ship and the rest of the fleet would watch. It was meant to be humiliating. Quick, efficient, painless. On the bridge of the Indomitable, Commander Chen monitored the approaching ships. 3 destroyers. Range 90,000 kilometers and closing. They are charging weapons. Let them come, Elena said. She touched the communications panel. All sections, this is the captain. We have trained for this. We have prepared for this. Now we show them what we are made of. Stand ready. Throughout the ship, 800 people stood at their posts. In engineering, Rodriguez had her hand on the main power controls. In weapons, the gun crews waited by their stations. In medical, doctors prepared for casualties. Everyone was ready. The destroyers reached 70,000 kilometers, then 60,000, then 50,000. They were moving fast, very fast. Their weapons were glowing with power. The Indomitable still did not move. Its weapons were cold. Its engines were barely running. To the Valkyrie, it looked like a target. A stationary, helpless target. At 45,000 kilometers, the destroyers opened fire. Energy lances shot across space, bright blue beams of concentrated power. Each one could punch through a mountain. 3 beams converged on the Indomitable and hit nothing. The Indomitable was no longer there. Full power, Elena shouted. All engines! Get us in close. The ship had been running on minimum power, hiding its true capabilities. Now every engine roared to life. The radiation leaks were not leaks at all. They were extra power cores hidden in plain sight. 4 separate fusion reactors pumped energy into the drive systems. The Indomitable accelerated like a missile, straight toward the destroyers. The ugly, slow, obsolete ship suddenly moved like a predator. The Valkyrie captains were stunned. Their sensors had shown a nearly dead ship. Now those same sensors showed power levels that should not be possible. They tried to adjust their aim, tried to track this new threat, but the Indomitable was already too close, and it was turning, not smoothly like a Valkyrie ship. Roughly, violently. Hidden thruster networks all over the hull fired in coordinated bursts. The ship twisted and spun like a boxer dodging punches. 30,000 kilometers, Chen called out. 25,000. Weapons range, Elena shouted. Fire everything? The Indomitable's railguns opened up, not one at a time. All of them, together. In a thunderous, devastating barrage, railguns were simple weapons. Magnetic coils accelerated metal slugs to incredible speeds. No fancy energy systems. No delicate focusing crystals. Just raw kinetic force. And the Valkyrie shields were designed to stop energy weapons, not solid projectiles. The first destroyer took 20 hits in 3 seconds. Its shields flashed and overloaded. The slugs punched through the hull like it was paper. Secondary explosions rippled along its length. It spun out of control, leaking atmosphere and debris. The second destroyer tried to evade. It was fast, but the Indomitable's weapons tracked with mechanical precision. No computers to confuse. No targeting algorithms to fool. Just simple, reliable, brutal firepower. The destroyer's engine section exploded. The ship went dark and tumbled away. The third destroyer managed to return fire. Its energy lances hit the Indomitable's armor. The outer layer burned away. The second layer glowed red-hot. The third layer held. Barely, but now the Indomitable was right on top of it. Close enough to touch. Elena called down to Rodriguez. Chief, give me everything. Everything? Rodriguez shouted back over the noise. You sure? Everything. Rodriguez grinned and pushed every control to maximum. Power flooded the weapon systems. The railguns began to overheat, but they kept firing. Faster. Harder. The third destroyer came apart under the assault. Its shields failed. Its armor cracked. Its reactor went critical. It exploded in a ball of white fire. 30 seconds. 3 destroyers. Gone. The Valkyrie fleet watched in total silence. The communications channels were dead quiet. No one spoke. No one moved. They had just witnessed the impossible. On the bridge of the Eternal Dominion, Admiral Thexnor stared at his displays. His forehands gripped the arms of his chair. His black eyes were wide with shock. This is not possible, he whispered. That ship is ancient. Those weapons are obsolete. This is not possible. His tactical officer spoke carefully. Admiral, the human ship appears to have multiple redundant systems. Our intelligence was wrong. Very wrong. Thexanor's shock turned to anger. Burning, furious anger. All ships. Attack formation. I want that human ship destroyed now. The entire Valkyrie fleet surged forward. 44 ships all at once. They abandoned their careful formation. Abandoned their precise tactics. They charged like an angry mob. On the Indomitable, Elena watched them come. The ship was damaged. Hull breaches on 3 decks. 2 railguns offline. Casualties in engineering. But they were still here. Still fighting. Commander Chen, she said calmly. Plot me a course right through the middle of them. Chen looked at her like she had gone insane. Captain? Elena smiled. A cold, dangerous smile. They want a fight? Let us give them one. Right in their face. The Indomitable turned toward the advancing fleet, alone against an armada, damaged but defiant. And it accelerated into the storm. Space erupted in fire and metal. The Velkari fleet swarmed around the Indomitable like angry insects. Energy lances crisscrossed the darkness. Missiles streaked in bright trails. The human ship was surrounded, outnumbered, outgunned, but it was still fighting. Elena gripped her chair as the ship shuddered from another hit. The lights flickered. Sparks fell from damaged conduits. A damage control team rushed past the bridge entrance. Everything was chaos. Controlled chaos. Status, she shouted. Chen read from his console, his voice steady despite the violence around them. Hull breaches on decks 4 through 7. Port armor at 60%. Starboard armor at 45%. We have lost railgun batteries 2 and 5. Engines at 85% capacity. Casualties? 43 wounded. 8 dead. Chen paused. Engineering reports they can keep us running, but Chief Rodriguez says do not ask her how. Elena almost smiled. That sounded like Rodriguez. Good enough. Weapons, status? The weapons officer, a man named Harris from Texas, looked up from his displays. We have 5 railguns still operational. Ammunition at 70%. Point defense is working, but we are getting overwhelmed. Too many targets. Then we make every shot count, Elena said. Target their engines. Disabled ships cannot shoot us. The Indomitable rolled hard to port, dodging a barrage of missiles. Its point defense lasers swatted some out of space. The rest impacted against the already damaged armor. More sections failed. More alerts screamed for attention, but the railguns kept firing. Methodical, precise, relentless. A Velkari cruiser came too close. The Indomitable turned its full broadside on the target. 4 railguns fired as one. The cruiser's shields collapsed. Its engine section disintegrated. The ship went tumbling away, dead in space. 2 more destroyers moved in from opposite sides. They thought they had the human ship trapped. They opened fire together, their energy lances converging on the Indomitable's center mass. Elena saw it coming. Full reverse. Emergency thrusters, all sections. The ship lurched backward. The destroyer's shots passed through empty space where the Indomitable had been a second before. The energy beams hit each other instead. Both Velkari ships took heavy damage from their own weapons. The Indomitable did not wait. It spun in place and fired on both targets. The left destroyer lost its bridge. The right destroyer lost its weapons array. Both ships retreated, smoking and broken. 7 ships down. Harris called out. Wait, make that 8. One of the cruisers just had a reactor failure. The Velkari fleet was starting to realize their mistake. They had charged in without coordination, without their usual careful tactics. Their ships were getting in each other's way. Their weapons were hitting each other as often as they hit the human ship, and the Indomitable was fighting like a cornered animal. Vicious, unpredictable, desperate. On the Eternal Dominion, Admiral Thexnor watched his fleet falling apart. Ships were reporting damage, casualties, retreat requests. This was supposed to be easy. A demonstration. A quick victory. Instead, it was a nightmare. All ships pull back to Formation Delta, he ordered. Regroup. Use proper tactics. The fleet tried to obey, but the Indomitable did not let them. It chased the retreating ships, firing at every exposed engine, every damaged shield, every weakness. Deep in the Indomitable's engineering section, Chief Rodriguez worked like a woman possessed. Her team had contained the hull breaches. They had rerouted power from damaged systems. They had patched, welded, and jury-rigged 100 different problems. Ensign Park stumbled over to her, his face covered in soot. Chief, the starboard power conduit is melting. We need to shut it down. No! Rodriguez shouted back. We shut that down, we lose 2 railguns. Flood it with coolant. Divert from life support if you have to. But Chief, do it. She grabbed his shoulders and looked him in the eyes. We don't need to breathe if we are all dead. Keep those guns firing. Park nodded and ran to carry out her orders. Around them, The engineering team worked with desperate efficiency. They knew what was at stake. 50 million people on the planet below, 800 crew on this ship. Earth's reputation in the galaxy, everything. The battle raged on. Minutes felt like hours. The Indomitable took more damage, lost more systems. More crew members fell. But it kept fighting, always fighting. Elena saw the Eternal Dominion through her view screen. The massive Velkari flagship hung back, protected by layers of smaller ships. Thexnor was staying safe while his fleet died around him. A plan formed in her mind. A crazy plan. A suicidal plan. She opened a channel to engineering. Chief Rodriguez, I need everything. Every last bit of power. Can you give me full engines for 2 minutes? Rodriguez's voice crackled back. 2 minutes? Captain, I can give you 90 seconds, maybe. After that, the engines will probably explode. Definitely explode. What are you planning? Something stupid, Elena said. Stand by, she looked at Chen, her friend. Her second in command. He already knew what she was thinking. His face was pale, but his hands were steady. Set a course, Elena said quietly. Straight for the Eternal Dominion. Ramming speed. The bridge crew stopped. Everyone turned to look at her. Ramming speed. It meant a collision. It meant certain death for everyone on board. Captain, Chen said carefully, that will kill us all. Maybe, Elena said. Or maybe they break first. They have been fighting to avoid damage. We have been fighting to inflict it. They value their lives. We value our mission. That is the difference. That is why we will win, she stood up. This is the captain speaking to all hands. We are going to charge the enemy flagship. They think we are beaten. They think we will run. Show them they are wrong. Show them what humans do when their backs are against the wall. Show them what the Indomitable really means. Throughout the ship, the crew heard her words. In engineering, in medical, in the gun base. And they responded. Not with fear. With defiance. Rodriguez pushed the power systems to their absolute limit. All yours, Captain. Make it count. Harris and his gun crews loaded every remaining railgun. Weapons ready. The medical teams prepared for the worst. We are ready. Chen entered the final commands. Course laid in. Ramming speed. Elena sat back down. Her hands were calm. Her voice was steady. Execute, the Indomitable turned. Every engine blazing. Every weapon ready. The battered, burning, beautiful old ship pointed itself at the heart of the Velkari fleet and accelerated. On the Eternal Dominion, alarms suddenly screamed. The tactical officer shouted in panic. Admiral, the human ship, it is coming straight at us. Full speed. Thexnor looked at his display. His black eyes went wide. The Indomitable was charging directly at his flagship. No evasion. No hesitation. Just pure suicidal aggression. For the first time in his long military career, Admiral Thexnor felt fear. They are insane, he whispered. They are all insane. He grabbed his communications officer. All ships. Stop that vessel. Kill it now. 6 months passed. The news of the Battle of New Sarajevo spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Every species heard the story. One human ship against 47 Velkari warships. And the humans had won. At first, no one believed it. The reports had to be wrong. Exaggerated propaganda, but then the sensor logs came out. Recordings from hundreds of observation satellites. Testimony from Velkari survivors. Even Admiral Thexnor himself confirmed what happened. The impossible was real. The HMS Indomitable was towed to the nearest repair station. It took 3 months to make the ship spaceworthy again. The damage was extensive. Entire sections had to be rebuilt. New engines installed. New systems integrated. But Elena insisted on one thing. They kept the scars, the patched hull, the mismatched armor plates, the character. This ship had earned every dent and burn mark. They would wear them with pride. Captain Vasquez became famous overnight. Every government wanted to meet her. Every news organization wanted to interview her. Every military academy wanted her to give speeches. She declined most of the requests. She was not interested in fame. She just wanted to get back to work, but she did agree to one visit. Observer Kelthas requested a meeting, and Elena could not refuse. He had been fair to humanity. He deserved answers. They met in her office aboard the repaired Indomitable. The ship was docked at Convergence Prime, the same station where this had all begun. Kelthas looked around the room with fascination. The walls still showed photos of previous captains and crews. Captain Vasquez, Kelthas began, thank you for seeing me. I have studied your battle extensively. I have analyzed every moment, and I still do not fully understand. How did you do it? Elena poured 2 cups of coffee. Human coffee grown on Earth. She offered one to Kelthas, who accepted it carefully. The Velkari made mistakes, she said. They underestimated us. They fought carelessly. That is true, Kelthas agreed, but it is not the whole answer. I have seen many battles where the stronger side made mistakes. They still won. Your victory was different, special. Elena sat down across from him. Then I will tell you the real answer. We won because we designed our ships differently. Most species build warships to be perfect, fast, powerful, elegant. And when those ships take damage, they break. They fail. They die. She gestured around the room. We build our ships to survive. Every system has backups. Every component can be replaced. If one power core fails, 3 more keep running. If one gun breaks, 5 more keep shooting. Our ships are ugly because we prioritize function over form. Reliability over elegance. Kelthas nodded slowly. I see redundancy, simplicity, durability. These are not advanced concepts. They are basic engineering principles, but taken to an extreme. Exactly, Elena said. The Velkari have weapons that can destroy a planet. We have weapons that still work after being shot. They have shields that can stop anything. We have armor that takes punishment and keeps going. They have the best technology. We have the best determination. Chief Rodriguez entered the office carrying a data pad. She saw Kelthas and nodded respectfully. Sorry to interrupt, Captain. Just need your signature on the new engine specifications. Elena signed it and handed it back. How are the new engines? Rodriguez grinned. Uglier than the old ones. More powerful too, and I made sure to add extra backups. She looked at Kelthas. You know what they say. If it looks stupid but it works, it is not stupid. After Rodriguez left, Kelthas smiled. It was the first time Elena had seen him smile. Your chief engineer has an interesting philosophy. Is that common among humans? Very common, Elena said. We have a saying, do not fix what is not broken, and if it is broken, fix it with whatever you have. Elegance is nice, but survival is better. Kelthas set down his coffee cup. The galaxy is changing because of what you did. Military analysts are studying human design principles. Shipbuilders are adding redundancy to their vessels. Even the Velkari are reconsidering their doctrines. Good, Elena said simply. Maybe fewer people will die in the next war. I also bring news, Kelthas continued. The Galactic Council has voted to grant Earth full membership. No more probationary status. No more limited representation. You are equals now. Elena raised her eyebrows. That is a big change. What prompted it? Kelthas laughed. You did. The Council realized that any species capable of what you accomplished deserves respect. Also, several governments have requested military exchange programs with Earth. They want to learn from you. We are not conquerors, Elena said carefully. We do not want to spread war. I know, Kelthas assured her. They want to learn your defensive strategies, your survival techniques, your engineering philosophy. You have shown the galaxy a new way to think about warfare, not as a competition to see who has the best weapons, but as a test of who can endure the longest. Elena stood and walked to the window. Outside, other ships came and went from the station. Some were sleek and beautiful. Some were functional and plain. But none of them looked at the Indomitable with mockery anymore. Now they looked with respect. What will you do now? Kelthas asked. You could retire. Accept a promotion. Teach at the academy. You have earned it, Elena shook her head. I have a ship. I have a crew. We have work to do. There are still colonies that need protecting, trade routes that need patrolling, pirates that need discouraging. The dangerous work, Kelthas observed. The unglamorous missions. The important work, Elena corrected. Besides, the Indomitable is not ready for retirement. Neither am I. Kelthas stood to leave. Then I wish you fair winds, Captain. Or whatever the human equivalent is for space travel. Elena smiled. Clear skies and steady engines. That is what we say. They shook hands. Human and Ascendi, warrior and scholar, friends. 3 days later, the Indomitable left Convergence Prime. The crew was back to full strength. New members had requested transfers to serve on the famous battleship. Elena had to turn away hundreds of applicants. Everyone wanted to serve on the ship that had become a legend. As they broke orbit, Commander Chen brought news. Captain, Earth Command has approved construction of 6 new ships based on the Indomitable design. They are calling them the Anvil-class battleships. Elena nodded. Good. The galaxy needs more ships that refuse to die. Also, Chen continued, we are receiving departure messages from other ships in the area. They are all very respectful. No mockery. No jokes. Play them, Elena said. The communications channel opened. Ship after ship sent their regards. Velkari captains, Ashandi traders, even a few Zenthari warships. All of them wished the Indomitable safe travels. Some even saluted. One message stood out. It was from Admiral Thexnor himself. His face appeared on the screen and Elena was surprised to see him smile. A real smile, not a mocking one. Captain Vasquez, I wanted to send you off personally. 6 months ago I called your ship a joke. I was wrong. You taught me an important lesson. Technology is nothing without the will to use it. Power means nothing without the courage to stand. I will not forget that lesson. Safe travels, Captain, and know that you will always have my respect. The message ended. Elena sat quietly for a moment. Then she keyed the response channel. Thank you, Admiral. And the same to you. The Indomitable accelerated away from the station. The old engines hummed with new power. The patched hull gleamed in the starlight. The mismatched armor plates told a story of survival and victory. Rodriguez came up to the bridge to check on the systems. Everything was running smoothly. Well, as smoothly as anything on the Indomitable ever ran. There were still alerts. Still minor problems. Still that constant need for maintenance. But the ship worked. It always worked. Ensign Park approached Rodriguez nervously. He was still young. Still learning. But the battle had changed him. Made him stronger. Chief, I was wondering. Why do we keep the ship looking like this? We could make it sleek. Modern. Like the other ships. Rodriguez put her hand on his shoulder. Kid, this ship beat 47 Velkari warships looking exactly like this. You know what they call us now. Not a joke. Not a relic. They call us the ship that would not die. Why would we change that? Park smiled. I understand, Chief. Besides, Rodriguez added with a grin, ugly and effective beats pretty and dead every single time. On the bridge, Elena looked out at the stars ahead. There were colonies to protect, trade routes to secure, a galaxy that was still learning what humanity could do. Commander Chen stood beside her. Where to, Captain? Elena smiled. The frontier. Where we belong, where we are needed. The dangerous places, Chen observed. The important places, Elena corrected. She looked back at her crew. All of them at their stations. All of them ready. All of them proud to serve on the ship that had become legend. Set course. Maximum speed. The Indomitable jumped to faster-than-light travel. A streak of light against the darkness. An old ship with a new reputation. A joke that had become a symbol. Across the galaxy, the story spread. Parents told it to children. Officers taught it at academies. Historians recorded it for future generations. The Battle of New Sarajevo. 1 ship against 47. The day humanity proved that determination and design could overcome any odds. The Velkari never threatened human colonies again. Other species thought twice before underestimating Earth. And whenever a debate started about advanced technology versus proven reliability, someone would always mention the Indomitable. The space between the Indomitable and the Eternal Dominion filled with weapons fire. Every Velkari ship in range opened up. Energy lances, missiles, plasma torpedoes. Everything they had. The Indomitable flew through it all. Hits hammered the hull. Entire sections of armor burned away. Decks opened to space. Systems failed one after another. But the ship kept going. Its engines screaming. Its weapons firing back at anything that got too close. On the bridge, sparks rained down from broken conduits. Half the displays were dark. The lights flickered. Elena could hear the groaning of stressed metal throughout the ship. The Indomitable was being torn apart, but not fast enough. Distance to target, she shouted. Chen's console was half destroyed, but he read from a backup display. 15,000 kilometers. 10,000. We are in point-blank range. All weapons. Elena commanded. Target the flagship. Everything we have. The 3 remaining railguns fired as one. At this range, there was no chance to miss. The slugs crossed the distance in less than a second. They hit the Eternal Dominion shields once, twice, 3 times. The mighty flagship's shields flared bright blue. They held, barely. Thexnor saw the human ship filling his view screen. It was a wreck, burning, broken, pieces falling off. But it was still coming. Still shooting. Still fighting. Evasive maneuvers, he screamed. Get us out of here! The Eternal Dominion was huge, powerful, heavily armed. But it was also slow. It began to turn, but not fast enough. The Indomitable was already too close. Elena saw her chance. All power to forward guns. One more volley. Make it count. Rodriguez's voice came over the comm, strained and desperate. Captain, the engines are critical. We have maybe 10 seconds before they... 10 seconds is enough, do it. Every remaining power core on the Indomitable dumped its energy into the weapons systems. The railguns glowed red-hot. Warning alarms shrieked. But they fired. A massive barrage of metal slugs hammered into the Eternal Dominion at point-blank range. The flagship's shields collapsed under the assault. Armor plates shattered. The bridge section took multiple direct hits. Explosions rippled along the hull. Thexnor was thrown from his chair. Emergency systems screamed. His beautiful bridge was a mess of fire and smoke and dying officers. Half his crew was dead or wounded, and the human ship was still there. Still coming, all ships, he transmitted on the emergency channel. Ram them, stop them. Whatever it takes. But the Velkari fleet had finally had enough. They had fought humans and believed all the stories about primitive technology. They had laughed at the old battleship. But in the last hour they had learned the truth. Humans did not care about looking good. They cared about winning. Their ships were not elegant. They were brutal. Their weapons were not advanced. They were effective. And when pushed to the edge, humans did not surrender. They fought back. One by one, the Velkari ships began to break off. To retreat. First the damaged ones, then the ones that had lost weapons, then the ones that simply had enough. The careful, disciplined fleet was falling apart. On the Indomitable, Elena watched the enemy flee. She could hardly believe it. They were winning. Actually winning. Then the engines finally gave up. Multiple explosions rocked the engineering section. The power went out. Emergency lights clicked on, casting everything in red. The ship went silent except for the hiss of escaping air and the crackle of fires. Damage report. Elena called into the darkness. Chen worked his backup systems. Main power is gone. Engines are destroyed. We are drifting. Weapons are offline. Life support is on batteries. He paused. Captain, we are dead in space. Elena looked at her crew. They were battered, exhausted, some were wounded. All of them were still at their posts. Are the Velkari still attacking? She asked. Chen checked his sensors. No, Captain. They are retreating. The flagship is damaged and withdrawing. Most of the fleet is following. We are reading at least 23 disabled or destroyed Velkari ships. The rest are running. The bridge was silent. Then someone started to laugh. Harris, the weapons officer. Then another crew member. Then another. Soon the entire bridge was laughing. Not from joy. From relief. From disbelief. From the sheer insanity of what they had just done. They had won. 1 ship against 47. The joke had defeated the Armada. Rodriguez's voice came over the comm, weak but alive. Bridge, this is engineering. We are a mess down here, but everyone is alive. Most of us, anyway. The engines are scrap. The power cores are cooked. But the hull is holding. We are not dead yet. Elena keyed her communicator. Good work, Chief. Good work, everyone. We did it. We actually did it. An incoming transmission cut through the static. It was from the Eternal Dominion. Admiral Thexnor appeared on the screen. He looked terrible. His uniform was torn. There was blood on his face. His bridge behind him was a disaster. Captain Vasquez, he said. His voice was quiet. Defeated, Admiral, Elena replied. She kept her voice neutral. Professional. Thexnor was silent for a long moment. Then he said, I underestimated you. I underestimated your ship. I underestimated humanity. He looked away. The Velkari Empire withdraws its claim to the frontier sector. The colonies are yours. We will not return, Elena nodded. Thank you, Admiral. Thexnor looked back at her. There was something in his eyes now. Not friendship, but respect. Tell me, Captain, how did you know we would break first? Elena smiled. A tired smile. Because you fight to protect your technology. Your beautiful ships, your perfect tactics. We fight to protect our people, our homes, our future. That is the difference. That is why we won. Thexnor nodded slowly. I see. Perhaps there is wisdom in your methods after all. He straightened as much as he could. I will recommend that my government establish formal peace negotiations with Earth. You have earned that much. Farewell, Captain Vasquez. May we never meet in battle again. Farewell, Admiral. The transmission ended. Elena sat back in her chair and closed her eyes. It was over. They had done the impossible, Captain, Chen said quietly. We are receiving a transmission from New Sarajevo. The colonial government wants to thank us. Elena opened her eyes. Tell them we were just doing our job. Also, Captain, we are receiving messages from all over the galaxy. News of the battle has spread. Everyone is talking about what happened here. Elena stood up. Her body hurt everywhere. She had cuts and bruises she did not remember getting. But she walked to the view screen and looked out at the stars. The Indomitable drifted in space. Broken, burning, barely functional, but still there. Still intact, still unconquered. Around her, debris from the battle slowly tumbled through the void, the remains of Velkari ships, proud vessels that had been destroyed by the museum piece, the relic, the joke. Elena thought about all the mocking messages they had received, all the laughter, all the contempt. She thought about Thexnor's confidence, his certainty that humans were weak, and she smiled. Commander Chen, she said, send a message to Earth Command. Mission successful. New Sarajevo is secure. The Indomitable requires assistance, but we are operational. All crew accounted for. She paused. And add this. The joke has the last laugh. Chen smiled as he typed the message. Around the bridge, the crew allowed themselves to relax. Just a little. Just for a moment. They had done it. Against impossible odds, against all expectations, they had won, and the galaxy would never look at humanity the same way again.